Yeah, Alan's still here. Yeah, Alan's still here.
Hi, George. Yeah, fine.
Yeah.
From where the referee was, he was close to the incident. He saw it quite clearly. I thought he could have probably isolated that offending player a little bit quicker. He went in and then he got the other side of it and he allowed all the players to come in. I didn't see whether he invited the physio on, like we said before. He didn't seem to know where to go or quite what to do first. Instead of standing back and getting a good view, if he couldn't isolate the player, stand back, get a good view and know which is the offender and then make his mind out what he's going to do.
Yeah. The important thing here is what he does. Hang on, Elliot. I've got double feedback. I've got double feedback. If you're not talking, could you just mute? If you're not talking, could you just mute? Right, try that. Right, try that. I've still got a double echo. We'll watch it again, but what he does, he pushes in to try to isolate the number 4 physically. And that doesn't work because he gets surrounded by the players. So he then tries to form an area where he can watch what's going on, but he's doing that too late. So watch again, please. Okay, so George, can you unmute?
Right.
Excellent.
Yeah.
What's your view and your thoughts?
Yes, I think it's like we were on about in the first clip, or was it the second one? I think a quick red card would help them out massively. I'm not 100%
Can you
sure.
stop it? Excuse me, Ella, stop. Right, here's the indicator, George. That if he puts a red card up now, who's looking at him?
Okay, so I'm on about as the tackle goes in, obviously he can get to the player. So before this is shown, he obviously gets to the player and he's almost hugging him, trying to pull him away, if that makes sense.
Yes, he is.
If he's thinking, I'm going to red card this red player, I can't remember what number it was, for me there, personally, just get the red card out because he's had the player and then that player's got swarmed by 7 white players and then he's gone, he's lost him. If he knows that that's the red card during that, there's only one outcome, it's going to get crowded. But like, if he goes for the back pocket, everyone sees him go for the back pocket, the red card's firm, it's in the air. One, it's like, oh, he knows what he's doing, he knows that's a red card, so the red player's going to be like, oh, okay. And the yellow players are going to be like, the referee's dealt with it, we don't need to take it into our hands. And, you know, he's making sure this game's safe by punishing that.
Okay. The point of being about the people not looking at him at the moment is that I don't know if Ella could go back a section and let it play. The same happens when he goes in. So just press play and then I'll tell you when to pause.
Yeah, the red sort of follow him around, didn't they?
Now, oh, too late. But you can see straight away that they're intent on getting to him. And even if he had a red card in his hand, nobody is looking at him. And so this is where we look at it and try and make the decision and saying, would a red card work? Maybe if he'd done it, we could say, well done, but it didn't work. But we can't say, you should do it because we can't predict that it would work. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, definitely. I think I can't remember who said it last, but that's going to happen anyway, whether the red card's there or not. And maybe there's a chance the red card might help it. Obviously, you just got to use your tools, haven't you, to help it. Can you go back a little bit? I can't quite, because from where like it comes in, like from where the foul is.
Yeah. Just stop.
Yeah, because he's the first one there, and he's not even bothered going, or he's not even gone for his back pocket. I feel like if he's there, everyone would see that, and everyone would see the red card in the air. Does that make sense?
But again, if you just go forward two or three clicks, so just go and stop.
There's another player there.
You see, as soon as he gets there, if you got a red card, they're not looking at him. They're so intent on getting to number 4 that we can't say that would work. But if a referee does it, we as observers have to recognise that that's a skill set, and we've got to applaud him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you wouldn't recommend it, but you would say,
no.
Yeah, I get what you're saying.
You see where I'm coming from? So we
100%.
recognise good technique by the match official, but we wouldn't necessarily inform them. I don't know, Simon. What's your guidance at the senior level?
I think it's very rare a quick red card would diffuse a situation. Certainly in a situation like that, I think the emotions are high. Naturally, I think you're going to take the more calm approach, and especially in a situation like this, whereas you're expecting probably a mass confrontation, you need to pick up the rest of the pieces that go with it. I think very rare is a quick red card going to sort of diffuse something like this. You know what I mean? I just can't see it.
Good. Okay.
George, it's Gary. Can I just pass comment on it? The referee's in a good position. He's come across the pitch from the far side to follow play in. He's got in as quickly as he can. The other white player who was behind the red perpetrator, you couldn't really see it very well on screen when it paused, because you had great difficulty seeing the white player behind the red. He tried to get in really quickly to defuse it, but there are so many white players coming in. And what I like with what the referee did, he at all times, he realised he wasn't going to win. He wasn't going to get the player isolated. So he tried to step back to watch at all times. He was moving because the players were moving in his direction. So he was always trying to distance himself. Perhaps a little bit more would have been useful, but he was trying to distance himself. And you see him move around, and even some players actually go to him to get in the way as well.
Yeah.
But I think he needs to be applauded, because it was a no-win situation. He moved in quickly, but there were so many white players moving in at speed. Yeah. He wasn't going to win.
George,
what he was trying to do is he was physically trying to move number 4, the offender, out of the way. And of course, as an observer, if he does it successfully, you would applaud him. However, in situations like this, you've got to say you shouldn't be putting your hands on players. You put yourself at risk when you don't need to. And I think it's all right for those of us who are 6'17" and built like a big policeman. That's fine. But for small people like myself, I would never go there. Don't put yourself at risk. Yeah. Are there any other questions on this, Clint? Okay.
The assistant, when we saw later on, had taken a reasonable position, because the referee and the assistant were looking at opposite angles.
Yes.
So hopefully the assistant might have picked anything up that the referee may have missed.
Yeah. Ella, can you play it again? And I'll sharp pause just towards the end, because the assistant does a little bit better than that, Ian.
Yeah, 2 seconds. I'll just.
Yeah, no problem. While we're waiting, Will, what's your opinion?
I was just going to ask about whether you just sort of recommend sort of letting one of your assistants, who obviously you pre-agreed before the game, come over and sort of let it boil over and really sort of get the best view of everything.
Yeah.
What would you say to that? Would you
We would
recommend
expect
doing that?
both assistants to come in and triangulate.
Yeah, just get every sort of angle. Would you say that see red card too early there?
Well, you could say that, but again, there's another version of the flash card. He knew he was going to send him off. It isolated him. He got him out of the group, and he didn't want to keep him on the field any longer than he needed to. So it's interesting. The biggest problem is that you're really relying on the fact your team sheet's correct. Because if you're just recording his number, and you haven't asked his name, you're putting yourself at risk.
Can you say that again? Mine's just being quite buffery.
Yeah, George, we didn't hear you. Yeah, sorry, Will. So I think just from my perspective, sorry, Simon. I just think first, I think Gary and Ian came with some great points. Because I think, to be fair to the referee, he's identified the issue. He's tried to get in there and isolate. And I agree with everything that George and everyone said about never getting there and touch a player unless you can quickly deal with it yourself. Like you said, he's quickly recognised that it's a combustible situation. He's backed away. He's done all the things, sort of textbook in some ways. You know what I mean? As far as your point, Will, I think you're spot on around asking that question. That having that engagement, especially when you haven't got the comms in this, obviously in this situation, having that engagement as a triangle, as a team, is paramount. I think as a referee, you know that guy there, number 4, is clearly one of the ones who's going to sort of trigger any more reactions. So rather than waste time, you know you've got that situation in hand. Your best thing to do is show the red card, get him off, because all that's going to happen is other team players are going to still try to get to him or influence in any way, shape, or form. If you're strong and decisive, make that decision on him. Then, if there's a way of picking up other people afterwards, but in a situation like this, when it's so 22 people, your best thing is just to let it get picked up by the authorities, the league, or your counties, whoever. Because to pick 2 players out of 22, you could pick 20. You know what I mean? It's just a case of just getting the right balance, really, on base of it. But yeah, no, you're spot on, mate. It's right to ask that question.
At that level as well, when you got neutral assistants, it's a lot easier you can sort of trust them to sort of have another angle and give you the sort of correct information.
And just think about if you want to find 2 cautions, you don't want to find a person who's already on a caution as well, unless they really sound different. But don't always take, if he just says to you, for example, number 6 and number 8, or 6 white and 8 red, but you know in your mind 8 reds on a caution already. Again, you don't want to it's about a balanced approach and not trying to go then totally one-sided. And obviously, you know what it's like. So then the Reds, Hampton, Richmond in this case, are going to be really sort of frustrated against you. You sent 2 of their players off in one instance. So it's about trying to use your nous and manage the situation as best you can, really.
George,
you were intimate.
George, could I ask Simon, what would he have done as a follow-up action? There was a mass confrontation there, and the goalkeeper of one of the teams has clearly gone a long way to get himself involved. What would have been the subsequent action because of the melee mass confrontation? Call it what you like. Would Simon be happy just to carry on and give the appropriate free kick after dismissing the player?
Personally, we would pick. Thanks for the question. No, I think we would pick 2 players. So generally, we would pick 2 players. Like you said, the goalkeepers always stand out because they're normally in a Larry kits as they always choose to wear. But yeah, it's a case of once you've got the perpetrator, and he's dealt with that, like I said, very effectively. It's then picking up really your balance of one from each side. That's what we're always told: get one from each side, and then let the rest be picked up. Obviously, clearly, either by VAR or by the authorities. More importantly, you know what I mean. So, but yeah, pick one from each side, and again, sometimes you haven't got the whole picture because you're so focused on the challenge and he gets too close. So it might be the case you are reliant on the assistants to give you that information, but at the same time, you've got to use your savviness. And sometimes keepers are easy because they're less risk as well. You know what I mean, in the sense of the caution. So,
yeah, you've actually stolen my script. So well done and a great question.
Oh, sorry.
You're absolutely right, and we had the term there, melee and mass confrontation. And the big difference is melee is what we would describe as handbags, although we're not allowed to say that anymore. But basically, it's a situation where it's a few players have come together and you can deal with it. A mass confrontation is exactly this, which is it's a group of players that have adopted aggressive attitude, and you need to pick, as Simon says, one from each team. Because by doing that, you're saying this is not acceptable. A caution because of this, then it'll happen again. And you're absolutely right. I've got who wants to pick it up, the assistants. This referee actually briefed his senior assistant to stay in front of the technical areas to make sure that they behaved during any mass confrontation. So what he's doing is losing a set of eyes, and that authority of the assistant, which would be on this side of the melee. And so he was advised to change his pre-match instructions, because you want all three officials on the field at that time. And although we didn't see it there, right at the end, as the number 4 is walking off, an opponent tries to follow him, and the assistant referee, bless him, just steps straight in front of him to stop him following him. And as observers, we've got to make sure we recognise that, because that assistant needs reward for that simple little manoeuvre. And if we can watch it again, we might just be able to see that if Ella can put it back through.
And George, that's why Will was right about, in those situations, deal with the information that you know there and then. If you wait, that number 4 is only going to get provoked, and then the next thing you have another mass brawl as well, a secondary one, because you haven't dealt with that situation quickly and just dealt with that player. You can deal with the rest afterwards.
Yeah. So if we watch 4 walk out the back door here, and watch the white player try to follow him, and the assistant, without looking at him, just walks into his path. A real good piece of officiating. So does anybody have any questions on that?
Do you know what the referee did in the end? Did he caution anyone else, or was it just the red that he got?
No, he didn't caution anybody else.
Oh, right, okay.
Yeah. Okay. As I said, we were looking just to stay on board for an hour. We've covered several points, and the main one being discipline and the use of the cards. We recognised that the difference between serious foul play, violent conduct. We've just discussed the difference between a melee and a mass confrontation. And the point that you raised about the assistants, think about it, gentlemen and ladies. When you do your pre-match brief, you ask your assistants to come on for a mass confrontation. Do they really know what that means? When are they going to come on? If you're the assistant, do you understand when the referee is going to need you to come on? So if you're not sure, make sure you ask the question. Yeah. And the running theme through this evening has been, what's in it for me as a referee? What am I doing? Putting things at risk? And is there a reward there for me and my control? Because if there isn't, then the easy thing is to give the easier free kick. So that will conclude this part of the session. But what I'm prepared to do is stay online. People can switch off if they want, but if they want to stay while we've got these senior referees with us, if we have any questions, let's go ahead and do them. If you'd like to put your hand up or unmute.
Hi George, thanks for that, it's Ben. I'm happy to stay on and chat with anyone if they have any questions.
Okay.
Hi George, Sam, I can stay on as well.
Okay.
Hi Samuel. How are you, mate? You all right?
Thanks.
So does anybody got questions? Okay, I'll come into Ian. Ian, how are you finding the system that we're using for observing promotion candidates at the moment? You need to unmute.
Ian Hailstone, I take it you're talking to, not Ian Hibbard.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah. The system currently.
Yes.
Yeah, I think I replied to Simon with some bullet point things, and one of the things regarding observers was this type of thing, because I know in the past we had a sweeping up meeting at the end of the season, sometimes a pre-meeting. This sort of setup that you've got going now, and sadly the one that I missed with Simon because I was ill at the time, it is really good because as we've learned tonight, people see things differently and you can learn from everybody else, and so this sort of thing is good. The reports I'm relatively comfortable with, because got used to them now. They're a bit obviously a departure from the old system.
Yeah.
But I'm okay with them. I don't know how the referees find it, but as an observer, I'm quite okay with it. And the appointing system where we now go into the computer list and have a little the spreadsheet and have a look and try to find people we haven't assessed before and pick a mic game, for me has worked okay.
Yeah.
I think I try to do a nice mix of doing people going for level 5 and level 4 as opposed to referees going for their first promotion, because I like to do a mix. That works good as far as I'm concerned.
Okay. George Lynch, what about you?
Hello.
How are you experiencing observing this season?
Who, sorry, or
Yeah, you. How have you experienced it?
Oh yeah, very good. Obviously, the reports are new for me, and a lot more lengthy I find than the level 5 ones. But I feel like they reward, if you have a good game, you get rewarded for it. And obviously that was the, I remember we had the meeting at the start of the season about the observers at level 4, and they said it'll reward refereeing and managing the game better. And for me personally, I've only had 2 so far, but I feel like it has in both of them. The reports have been great, like massive development points, which obviously is the most important thing about an observation, isn't it? But yeah, no, I think they're really good. Like, just one was talking to the dugouts. That wasn't there as level 5. I'm not sure if it's their last year as level 4. But that's obviously part of the game management and part of the not just refereeing, giving the fouls. It's about managing the occasion as well. So yeah, definitely, I think it's really good.
Okay, Sam, do you want to talk about how you deal with the technical areas, certainly as you come through?
I think it's about not being scared to go in there if you need to. Obviously, don't overdo it. Don't go in there if you don't necessarily need to. But there's an expectation of behaviour and how people should be behaving, both on the pitch and obviously on the side. And if you shy away with it, you've got to be able to deal with what's going on. Otherwise, it spreads onto the pitch. So you have to be brave, and sometimes you have to be unpopular in order to make sure that you manage the event, like someone mentioned earlier on. It could be just a quiet word. It doesn't necessarily have to mean you have to dismiss somebody, but at least you've got the confidence and the bravery to go in there and let people know what your tolerance, what acceptable behaviour is. And if they step across the line and obviously they know the situation, they can go and view it from somewhere else.
Yeah. Okay, and we've had a question about post-match reviews. Alan, could you just describe what you do post-match these days?
I'm doing all mine on Zoom.
Yeah.
And I find it's good to have that extra time, because sometimes you can go in the change room after the game. As an observer, you've got your mind what you want to say. But sometimes leaving it a day till probably midday or mid-morning on a Sunday, you've had time to think, and probably you make a better observation of the game, and give probably a better view in your report. Because when I do a report, I think I'm going to write in one section, but when I read through, I can make a comment, good or bad, in another section. And I think this is in the new system. We have to be very careful that we give the advice in the right sections, thinking having that extra time rather than going in after 10 minutes at the end of the game.
Okay. To Ian, could you just describe what the main points you're looking for? If that's a question from Will.
You're talking to me, George.
Go back to Ian Elstone. Could you just come in to say one of the main points that you're looking for a promotion?
I think I heard my name, George, and Ian Hailstone, did you say? I don't know.
Yes, please.
Yeah, if you did, I didn't get what you wanted to comment on, but we're talking about the post-match debrief, and if that's the subject you're still on, initially with the COVID restrictions, I thought that was a disadvantage of just having to do it later on. But what Alan said is very, very true. The only thing that I do miss by not doing the pre-match is clarification issues. Because sometimes after an incident, as an observer, you may not have picked up exactly why a referee did something, and depending on his explanation to you, it's whether he may have done right or wrong. And sometimes you have these clarification points that you want to do before you then can go on to give any advice. The danger of leaving it 24 hours is hopefully the referee can still remember what you're talking about, but he may have be a bit hazy. So that's the only disadvantage, I think. I don't know whether that was your question. I can't hear anyone now, so I don't know if it's a problem on my end.
I think George has cut out, but there's one more question in the chat if Sam or Ben wants to answer it, if you can see it. If not, I can read it to you.
Have a look. Who's it from?
Keith Simpson.
Do you want to read it out for us then, please?
Yeah. I've a question before I leave. As an older, newly qualified ref, level 7, having been around football for a long time, while I believe that the football is a contact sport, play hard but play fair is my basic pre-match talk. I've had the comments from players they prefer this, especially at the end of the game. Would you having any advice on pre-match talks, basically, and how would it fit into an observation report?
For me personally, it depends on the teams you've got. If you've got one team who are a team that want to play football and the other team who want to kick, then the balance for both teams are going to be slightly different. So you have to adjust your involvement based on the two teams that are playing in order to bring the game to a safe conclusion. Otherwise, you're going to get one team that's happy, one team that's not. So I think for me personally, it's about the styles that you've got, the teams that you've got, and obviously even your own tolerance, because depending on certain leagues, if you go towards sort of like London area compared to up north, there's two different contrasts of what is hard and what is not. So I know if I do a team from up north and I'm doing a team from down south and they're both playing, or if I referee up in the north, Manchester and above, the expectation of what a robust challenge is a lot different to down south. And that is the same for the observers. So you have to be able to adjust what your tolerance is and what your foul recognition is at the same time. But then you then have to be consistent.
Yeah. Thanks, Sam. Keith, also, as a level 7, the observer currently won't listen to your pre-match. So what you tell the clubs and the club assistant referees is down to you. And your approach is absolutely fine, like Sam says. Give it a go, but you've got to be flexible enough to recognise, actually, this isn't working, I need to change. Yeah. We have.
Can I just add something to that, George?
Yeah, go ahead, Ben.
I think it's important when talking to your assistants, is especially at the lower levels, is to not give them too much to do. Let them just concentrate on some basic things. You just deal with offsides, balling out of play. I'll manage the rest. I think that's probably one of the best things I learned back being a level 7, level 6. Just give them the really basic things to do, and you control the rest of it.
Okay, thanks, Ben. But Will goes on to ask, how do you go about pre-match talks with neutral ARs? In terms of you changed what you would say from lower level compared to a higher level.
Apologies, I've read that thinking that was the end of Keith's question. I haven't got the chat box name is working properly. Yeah. So how do you go about pre-match talks with neutral assistants in terms? Will, what level are you, if you don't mind me asking?
A7, doing my promotion to 6.
7 to 6, okay. So I think, the same answer really applies. Neutral assistants are great to have. They're really good to work with when you get them. But equally, I think there's different skill sets and of neutral assistants, and that doesn't matter whether you get up to the higher levels of supply league, etc. So keep it really basic. Get them to concentrate on the offsides, the ball in out of play. Whilst they're going to want to get involved with free kicks, it's a difficult one. Do you want them giving free kicks for you? If you can't see the foul, why not? Should you be able to see the fouls in that level of football with that speed of the game? My advice would be keep it brief, get them to do the real basics, and then you manage the rest. That way you can be consistent at either end of the field of play.
Will?
Yes.
You say level 7 going for 6, so well done. Congratulations. Are you running the line at all?
Yeah, I've been doing a fair few lines. I've been doing the Southwest County League.
Right.
Wilts Floodlit League. I'm wanting to get onto Hellenic if I can, potentially.
Yeah, no, that's no problem at all. If you have problems, come back to us. We'll chase that through for you. And the thing is,
contact for Hellenic,
yeah, the thing that Ben was referring to there all comes through your experience when you're running the line, because you get to listen to various referees, and even at his level now, I'm sure he still still think, oh, he's asking me to do that. You know,
I'm sorry.
You learn from what the referees are telling you. And so you can decide that that's a good idea or no, I don't like that. And so you can develop that skills as you go through your refereeing career. Yeah.
Will, can I throw that back to you? What do you tell your neutral assistants?
Oh, I'm yet to have any neutral
say.
assistants.
Okay, so what do you think you'd say? What would you want them to do?
I'd go through basics of offsides, throw-ins, anything sort of I miss, because where they're neutral, I'd hope to trust them enough to sort of, if I miss anything, to be able to sort of have them as a second pair of eyes. And then what I've been told a lot is with fouls, anything in the sort of area going from their position to the edge of the 18-yard box, that sort of distance in the pitch, fouls with anything there, really.
Okay. Do you think that would give you a consistent approach at either end of the field of play?
Yes, I hope so.
You'd hope so.
Well,
do you think you're more likely to be consistent if you say, look, really want you to get involved today, really happy for you to give some free kicks. However, it needs to be really, really obvious that I've missed it for you to get involved. So you're telling them you're happy for them to get involved, which is great. They feel part of the team. You've put your arm around them. They've got a little cuddle saying, yeah, I can give a free kick today. How exciting. But really what you're saying is, I don't actually want you to give it because I should be able to see it. I should be able to run my nuts off that I'll be able to get into the position. I'll be able to give the free kick myself without really needing their help.
Yeah, so I'd probably look at talking to them pre-match and sort of saying that about give it sort of 2-3 seconds, and if I've sort of carried on playing, blatantly missed it, then to give it. But if I've sort of clearly said no foul, play on sort of thing, or play advantage, then yeah.
Because the fouls that they can assistants at that level can really help you out with are just the ones that the blind side pulls. So if you're running down the line and the defender or the attacker is going to just have a little grab of a shirt sneakily and kind of pull him in so he can't get away, something where you like really couldn't see it, that is where the assistant's going to gain and you're going to get most value out of your assistant. If they're trying to get involved on a free kick just outside the 18-yard box, which you should be able to clearly see, they're not really giving you that much value.
Yeah.
So maybe just kind of consider that when you come to have neutral assistants, mate.
It's something to look forward to, Will. That's for definite.
Unless you get me, then be really worried, buddy.
Yeah.
I'll be happy when I can have some neutrals instead of club assistants, I'll tell you that.
It changes the game, mate, I tell you.
Yeah, can imagine.
Rob Herrick, we haven't heard a lot from you, sir. But what level are you and what do you do?
I'm going 7 to 5 this year.
Right.
So I've done my first 3 promotions from 7 to 6.
Yes.
Observation, sorry. So all I have to do now for that is the laws of the game test.
Mm-hmm.
Then I have my first observation booked in for 6 to 5 this Sunday.
Okay. Good luck.
Thank you. And I've done about 47 games so far this half season.
You are joking.
No, so quite a few.
Ben, you told me you were busy.
He is busy.
Wow.
He is busy, George.
Samuel, come on now. Come on.
Well, that's tremendous to hear, Rob, and you can tell by the reaction of the guys that, listen, if you need any help at all in any of these, your games, don't hesitate to contact any of these guys that are on tonight, because I know they're all willing to help you. And somebody who's showing the commitment that you have already this season is hopefully you get the reward that you deserve. And
where are you based, Rob?
So I live in Wilcott, so just near Pewsey.
Is that Swindon way?
Near Marlborough.
Right. Okay.
It's all right. He's not good at geography.
Yeah, don't get out much.
Yeah. But yeah,
I mean, I probably can't have the joke that you're nailed on for a cup final now, can I?
I hope so. If he's doing that many games,
well, yeah, absolutely. He won't have any legs left at the end of the season. Crikey.
So yeah. So what's your aim then, Rob? What's the intention
with reffing as a whole?
Yeah.
Just to get as high as I can, because the aim's always been from get go, see how far I can get, and hopefully one day I can get into the top leagues.
Okay. I'll go over to Sam. What were your targets, Sam, when you were a level 7?
The ones that I actually am allowed to say, or the ones that I was sort of like had to be a bit conservative? No, obviously it's a case of you don't know how good you're going to be, and you don't want to disrespect your colleagues around you either. So you want to go as high as your ability allows you to go. However, you do want to get to the higher echelons. Of course, you want to get to the Premier League, but so does everybody. But you have to also be realistic and know that the challenges as you come through are really, really difficult. And sometimes it's not just a case of your ability. There's so many other things of commitment, work, family, time, your health, just fitness in general, your admin. There's so many things to consider. How much you can retain, how much can you learn, how committed you are, because there's a lot of commitment involved. But for me, it was a case of just taking each stage as it comes. And yeah, I was lucky enough to go 7 to 5 as well. So obviously you had to do twice as many games, twice as many observations, twice as much commitment, and need to be twice as lucky at the same time. But yeah, I think it's just a case not looking too far, and to take each game as it comes. And then fingers crossed, come the end of the season, you are where you want to be. And if you're not, you just have to learn from it, reset, and go again. And I think they bode well for resilience, because you need that determination, that strength in order to progress to the higher levels anyway.
So, ask what level you are and what's the biggest challenge you face since you started?
So I'm a level 1, so I'm a Football League referee, which
well done. Big congrats.
We all thought the same, Rob. We all thought the same.
Biggest challenges. I think probably home life balance. I think because I work in the fire service as well, so I've got a half decent job which takes quite a lot of time, and I've got 2 children, 7-year-old and a 14-year-old, and a very good woman at the same time. And obviously, as you can imagine, the travel. So I'm going to Southend tomorrow for an evening kickoff, so I'll have to leave at 1 o'clock. I'll have to stay overnight tomorrow night to then come back Wednesday afternoon, and then I'm at Colchester on Saturday, so I'll have to leave on Friday in the evening, and I won't get back till late Saturday night. So as you can imagine, if you're away quite a bit, that commitment, you need to try and make sure that in your downtime that you spend quality time with your family, and obviously you've got work as well. So work-life balance is crucial.
That's quite a journey.
Is your work sort of very accommodating in terms of you working when you can, sort of stuff around repping?
Yeah, well, again, I'm lucky. I'm in the fire service, and we do shift work. So you can either be on a two days, 2 nights, 4 days off, or I actually was on a station where we did 3 days constant, 3 days off. So in that, you were either available either on a weekend, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and then you'd be working Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. You could only be available for probably 1 game a week. But then I used to do shift swaps, use my annual leave, and just manage it in that sort of way. But again, at the moment, I'm lucky that I've just got a promotion into a secondment job where I do Monday to Friday, 8 till 5, but it's flexible and I can manage my own time. So I work on Sunday, which then gives me the time off for leaving tomorrow afternoon, and then getting back late Wednesday mid-morning, and then go straight into work. So yeah, at the moment I'm quite lucky that I can manage my own time.
Okay, thanks, Sam. I've got to call a halt there, fellas. We're going to get timed out. But I think the good point there is that if you're not aware of Sam used to play for Chippenham Town and Frome Town, and then qualified as a referee and went on through. So he's done really well. And young Ben that keeps chirping in, he's a National League assistant referee. So, and then we've got a couple of observers like Alan and myself from, and he's gone now, from supply and contributory leagues. So we've got quite a bit of experience here. Hopefully the next session, is it you, Ben, or is it young Dan?
No. Yeah, I'm not in for I'm not until March, mate.
Okay, so the next one I think is Dan Spire, who's talking about the transition from junior football to senior football, and that's going to be in the form like we've just finished up with questions and answers. So we'll, use the benefit of the experienced guys, and so that the younger referees can learn from their experiences. So I wish you well. Good luck to Rob and anybody else who's out this weekend. And and Sam, of course, and have a good rest of the season. And thank you to the observers that have tuned in this evening. Thank you very much, gentlemen. Good night.
Cheers. Well, guys. See you later.
Yeah.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Thank you, George.
Yeah, guys.
Cheers.